Joining us now for the World Brief and to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Adefemi Akinsanya. Good morning, Adefemi. Good morning.
Good morning, I feel like these last couple of days in our commercial breaks, right before we start, we're always like tussling back and forth about politics and the like. So I believe we're going to continue some of that today as well. Well, let's begin the World Brief in France, where the exit poll in the election is showing an unexpected result. The left-wing New Popular Front appears to have won between 172 and 192 seats. Now, President Emmanuel Macron and his allies are in second place with between 150 and 175 seats in parliament, while Marine Le Pen's far-right National Rally ended in third place, securing a maximum of 150 seats. Now, many had predicted Le Pen would win the vote following the far-right's sweeping victory in the European parliamentary elections. Sunday's runoff determines which party controls the National Assembly and who will be Prime Minister. If no party wins an absolute majority, which is what we're looking at, forming a government will mean extensive negotiations. Guys, France was very, very surprising to me. I know that you guys seem to be that's what you guys always say, but I was very surprised because, okay, so you think you saw it coming because you know that France's socialist roots are going to show itself and come to the rescue of the people?
So for me, I saw it coming. Right. Because yes, they were very close. The right wing was very close. But I saw it coming. Why? This is it. It is the time of Napoleon that France had always had the mindset of liberté, égalité, fraternité, which is liberty and all of that. And don't also forget, France as a country does not stand alone. They have other adjoining countries that are people of black heritage. Take, for instance, the island of Réunion, where their citizens also vote in this French election. And that's why France, yes, has its own racist problems.
Yes, social issues.
But also takes in a lot of these people. When you even go back historically, you talk about the likes of even Haiti fighting for the independence of France, the likes of Toussaint Louverture and all of that. They did it before. When Jean-Luc, Marine Le Pen's father, when they had to make a decision between Chirac and Marine Le Pen's father, they coalesced. Chirac beat Marine Le Pen's father 87% to about 16% in that election. So that was the exact thing they did today again, at this period again, because they knew that, yes,
you might have rally, they're saying that they'll come back, 2027, they say Marine Le Pen
you might have right-wing among them. I'm not saying there's no rise of right-wing.
Sure.
But the truth is, there's a distinction between nationalism and being right-wing, center-right. And that's why you see that, let me make my final point, the Republicans didn't join them in this. Republicans, the center-right party, but the Republicans didn't join Rassemblement National in all of this madness of nationalism.
My take is that this is a victory for Marine Le Pen. And the reason I say this is because this is they've gained over 50 seats in parliament. So based off of that, they're about to get a massive financial windfall from the government. Now, this is a party that was founded in the 70s by Jean-Marie Le Pen. And it's rumored, or not rumored, I believe it's a historical fact that actually it has some incorporation with former Nazi SS officials. And so what happened in 2011 is that Jean-Marie Le Pen, who is Marine Le Pen's father, decided to hand over the reins to his daughter. Now, what people are saying is that that has been a successful rebrand for this party. She's brought a little bit of new life and energy to what they call the Le Penist movement. So now, what's going to happen between now and 2027 with the massive financial windfall they're going to get? They're now part of, they're now going to be part of a significant part of the national budget. And they're now going to be able to potentially block so many things from happening within the parliament. They have massive power that they've never had in their, how many years has it been since the 70s? Over 40 years of existence. So this, a lot of people are saying, has been a massive victory for that movement, and it can only move forward from here, especially because of the division that's happening with both Mélenchon and Macron.
Well, by the same token, it is humiliation for President Macron. And it has affirmed the position that when he decided to call a snap parliamentary election, it was a gamble. So he has ended up in the second position. Now, the leftist coalition of all sorts, including ecologists and communists, coming together, well, what they did was tactical voting. They just closed ranks. So the tactical voting has worked now to keep out, the far right? But what is their agenda? They have no policy agenda. It's only Jean-Luc Mélenchon who likes to talk. He's not the leader of the alliance. The alliance has no known leader.
Do you think they'll pick him as prime minister?
Well, I don't know. He says they should form government, but they have going forward. They have no policy agenda. So, with a hung parliament, as I said earlier on, there's going to be, a lot of uncertainty in Europe's second largest economy. This what has happened is unprecedented. It has not happened before now. Since General de Gaulle established or created the Fifth French Republic in 1958. But the major difference, as part of that tactical voting, was that this second round, it was a turnout of 67.1%. So, the people were mobilized. But now, what is the future of France under this, arrangement, a fractious parliament that is going to be in power? And with Macron, who will remain president till 2027, will he be able to work with the leftists? So these are the big issues. When Rotus came, I analyzed the meaning for the markets. What will be the implication for the markets? But the more, urgent concern will be the political rivalry, the factionalization of French politics.
It's going to be very interesting to see because, as we all know, Gabriel Attal over the weekend offered his resignation. He did say that he would resign today. It's unclear whether or not President Macron will accept his resignation, but it does look as though something is going to happen. There's going to have to be some sort of senior representation coming from the far left. Whether or not it'll be Jean-Luc Mélenchon, I don't think so. I don't know. President Macron and him, they don't work together very well.
They have already some names for some possible moderates.
François Hollande, do you think?
No.
Why?
They will look for some moderates. François Hollande is socialist, is leftist. They'll look for some moderate that can stabilize the madness going on between the right and the centrist and the left. They'll have to look for a moderate.
Okay, we'll be keeping our eyes on them. All right, well, let's take a little hopscotch over to our papers and look at the front page of This Day newspaper. This Day looks at a whole group of stories, but I know that you guys have discussed the ECOWAS chair, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and the changes, he charges members of the ECOWAS committee to meet fiscal constraints. He also talks about how he's offering Nigeria's counter-terrorism base as a resource to other countries in the region. I know you've discussed that at length, but it will be interesting again to get your ideas on whether you think first and foremost, his re-election is a sign of belief in his leadership in this regional, or whether or not the relevance of ECOWAS continues to this day, whether or not it's a figurehead that has significant political power, or whether or not you just think this is just a ceremonial group of people who come to discuss issues pertaining to the region here and there. So that's the front cover of This Day. If we move over to the front cover of the Daily Trust, they are looking at fuel queues and why they are persisting, the issues that marketers have identified for these queues. I know that lots of people, myself included, have felt the brunt of this scarcity, having to queue, the traffic getting into the office because all of the petrol stations are roadblocked with people trying to get fuel. I mean, there's only so much people can take. Eventually something will bust. I don't pray for that to happen, but if these issues continue to get worsened and worsened, we're talking about fuel reaching 800 naira in areas like Kano. That's insanity in a country that has so much oil wealth. It is quite embarrassing and also heartbreaking to see what the reality of this fuel situation is like on day-to-day Nigeria. So that's the front cover of the Daily Trust. Moving then on to the Vanguard, and they take a really interesting look at the brewing industry and about how the high cost of raw materials is again causing issues in the brewing industry. For a while now, last week, we were looking at different papers and the different sectors of the economy that that have been reporting issues, bottlenecks, pricing constraints. We were looking at manufacturing, we were looking about the pharmaceutical industry. So it's very interesting to see how the Vanguard are taking a look at the brewing industry and how they haven't escaped the turmoil of this cost of living crisis. Lastly, our last Nigerian paper is the front page of The Guardian, and they are looking at how there are some 600,000 jobs at stake as states may sack 600,000 employees in order to pay this new minimum wage. The question I ask to all of you is, do you think we've reached a point in this debate where state governors should be allowed into the negotiating room, or do you think that that will continue to exacerbate this already existing problem? Is this something that you saw coming, the fact that unemployment may skyrocket in order for states to pay this, is it 30,000 that we're discussing?
Governments are already part of the conversation. You know, it's called a tripartite committee. It has labor, it has the federal government and the states, right, and it has the private sector. And the same problem that we had before the law, the national minimum wage that we had, which expired in April, is the same problem we have now. With the state governors saying, look, even at 30,000, many of them cannot pay. So, and some of them have said, we can't pay, we won't pay. And that's the main problem there. Now, some people are saying, oh, maybe the states should negotiate national minimum wage. No, it's called national. It's actually on the exclusive list. And organized labor will tell you this is in line with ILO conventions. So it's not a thing that each state can negotiate on its own. It's the minimum, the very minimum. And to the extent that the Constitution of Nigeria, Section 16 of 1999 Constitution, says that the Nigerian worker is entitled to a living wage, a reasonable living wage. You know, so it makes it a national issue. The state governors, when they say they will retrench, yes, that they've been very consistent in saying that look, we don't have the money and we're going to retrench people. Well, those people that they will retrench, where would they go to? Would they have the money to pay? Some people argue that after all, they now get a higher allocation from a federation account on a monthly basis. What are they doing with it? But I think the big issue in this argument is that these states that say they don't have money, if these states were centers of productivity, if we're not, suffering from the resource costs, whereby everybody is depending on oil and gas, you just go to Abuja to collect money. If the states generate and are productive and they create opportunities, then of course, wealth creation will not be a challenge for many of these states. But these state governors, they wait for security votes, they wait for monthly allocation, they practically do nothing. That is the bigger part of the problem. But that cannot be solved in the immediate. It's long term.
You know, Femi, there's a Yoruba adage, I'll translate in English.
Oh, why? Let me translate it for you. Don't mind me. Go ahead.
It says, what it means is, like you make pounded yam in leaves, and you put the soup in the shell of groundnuts, those that will be filled. The state governors, most of them are not ready. This morning, I want to give special commendation to Governor Sanwo-Olu of Lagos and the governor of Edo State. Governor Sanwo-Olu is paying, what is it called, wage. What's it called?
And pensions as well.
No, it's paying, there's this add-on fee they said they were going to pay. He's paying well over 72,000, and the governor of Delta State, Edo State, is 70,000. You see, those other state governors, they're just looking for alibis to sack workers. They are not ready,
there is that.
And they'll never be ready to pay the wage, no matter how much you put it.
I'm with you. Okay, let's take some other papers from different regions. If we look at our African papers, in Kenya, the front cover of the Daily Nation, they take a look at a very interesting conflict of interest bill, and also they discuss, that's that first bit of the story where they're talking about MPs' plot to grab state tenders. That pertains to this conflict of interest bill being flouted or being pulled or being moved away from. And then the picture headline story looks at a concert over the weekend commemorating the loss of people who lost their lives during the recently concluded protests to do with cost of living and that controversial finance bill. In addition to staying in Kenya, there's also the front cover of the Business Daily, and they talk about, again, really the crux of this issue, discussing how the IMF may delay fresh funding to Kenya, which, kind of speaks for itself there. And then lastly, if we move to the citizen of South Africa, people are calling on the government of national unity, this coalition. We're talking so much about political coalitions nowadays. They've been calling on them to put the people first in this ideas they have for putting this new lease on South African leadership. From African papers, let's also take a look at our international ones. The Financial Times looks at what we were discussing initially, which is the outcome of these elections so far and how the leftist alliance do seem to be on track to emerge as the party who have secured the most amount of seats but are falling far short of a majority. And then also there's the Daily Express. Let's take a look at British politics. They're looking at the challenges that Starmer has on his first Monday as Prime Minister. And they've challenged him to shape Britain's future over a series of issues, especially looking at the National Health Service and social care. So it'll be very interesting to see what him and Rachel Reeves come together with. I think the whole world is looking at this new Labour leadership. I say new in the context that it's a new government, not the new Labour of the 97. But there we go. And then lastly, we've got the front page of The Eye, which it's a really interesting article, actually. They talk about Labour heading towards a clash with the European Union over extra migrants. Many would think that because this is a Labour government, they may be far more open to immigration, which they are by definition, but they also are not open to the free movement of European citizens coming into the United Kingdom. What they are also looking at is that very controversial Rwanda plot that the former government were really hoping to put into law, how they are going to be repealing that, but it doesn't seem as though they want to fling the doors of the United Kingdom wide open. So, ladies and gentlemen, please do. I know we
jump in very quickly. You know, I always go to the African issues.
Sure.
Kenya, so the conflict of interest bill. Kenyans are very honest people, I have to say, because this bill is all about MPs, senators, ministers being allowed to be prioritized when it comes to the awarding of government contracts. So currently legislation allows it, and now the National Assembly is trying to overturn it. And I just feel like I love Kenyan youth because they are prying through their constitution one by one and they're making demands. Why do I say Kenyans are very honest people? Because we all know in other African countries, cough, 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 I won't name any names, that House of Representatives, senators, cabinet ministers are enjoying government contracts, and nobody's saying nobody says anything about it. So that's why I say Kenyans are very honest people, and they have a lovely bill about it. They're discussing it.
I wonder what country the is talking about. I have no idea.
Nigeria now.
Is it?
Off your mic. It was Nigeria.
Is it Nigeria you're talking about?
Didn't we hear when NDDC contract was being talked about, and somebody wanted to start saying that you lawmakers, you got NDDC contract? Off your mic.
Malawi Rufai.
Okay, go ahead. Real quickly, I just want to talk about something. You can see the power of having true leaders. And kudos to Keir Starmer. I know he will still have problems when God. But quickly, he took a decisive decision as regards Rishi Sunak's immigration Rwanda thing.
Yes.
Now it's been repealed. And now they're going another route. Just 2 to 3 days after he came into government, you can see the effectiveness of how government runs. Maybe if it was in Nigeria, we'll still be planning inauguration party by now and be thinking about to fleece government resource to spend on the inauguration ball.
Dr. Rubin.
Well, on Rwanda, I mean, Keir Starmer has made it very clear that it's gimmicks that the tourists were trying, and that he's going to stop the gimmicks that will not deter anybody. Second, on the EU, there's going to be a clash because the EU, the European Commission now is now asking for young people between the ages of 18 and 30 to be given opportunities to come and live, study, and work in Britain. So how he manages that remains to be seen. But I'm more interested in Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, the first woman to be Chancellor of the Exchequer in the history of Britain. And she is saying already that she's going to take a look at planning rules, housing, and all of that to make life better for the Brits. But the excitement that, look, you have a woman in a powerful position as that of the Chancellor is encouraging. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Adufemi. We'll see you again tomorrow.